In CBT, one of the things we talk about quite a lot are the errors and mistakes that we make when we're thinking. The reason we make errors when we think is because the world is full of unclear information. When we walk around, everything we see, we have to kind of make some sense of. And a lot of the information that comes to us is not clear, it's ambiguous, and we have to figure it out. And because we have to figure it out, there's usually more than one way we could think about it. So when we're depressed and anxious, we have a tendency to make more cognitive errors, and they're the kind of things that can make us feel worse. There are a number of different types of thinking errors that we make, so most of us make them some of the time. So for example, I do my driving test. I fail my driving test. I think I fail in everything I do. Everything I do, I'm useless at. That would be a good example of all or nothing thinking. Instead of thinking, oh, I failed my driving test, still lots of people do fail their driving test, I'll probably pass next time, I immediately think, I'm useless, I'm terrible, I fail everything. So another kind of thinking error is around prediction. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, we have to kind of figure it out. I'm about to do my driving test, I say to myself, I'm bound to fail, I'm going to fail, I'm going to be useless, this is going to be awful. Now I don't actually know I will fail, but because I've predicted all of that, it's much more likely that I will. Mind reading is another kind of error that we sometimes make because we can't see what's happening in people's heads. We have to kind of imagine what's going on there. So imagine I failed my test, and I think when I tell my husband, he's going to think I am a complete idiot. I tell him, and I look at what he's thinking. He says, oh, never mind, you'll pass next time, but I know that he's really thinking she's a complete idiot. I'm mind reading. Another kind of cognitive error is discounting the positive. This is when we see maybe one or two negative features and ignore everything else in the picture that's positive. So let's go back to the driving test again. My husband says to me, so, oh, it's a shame you failed, but what did you fail on? And I show him the list and tells him what I passed on, what I failed on. And actually, he says, oh, you've only failed on one thing, actually. Everything else is fine. But to me, all I can see is the negative. So none of the positive things I do matter to me at all. I'm only focusing on the bad thing that happened. I'm discounting the positive. Catastrophizing is another kind of thinking error. Again, some of us do it some of the time. Imagine that I have failed my driving test. The worst thing has happened. I think that is the worst thing that could ever happen. I'll never be able to pass. I won't be able to get a job. I won't be able to see my friends. This is awful. So sometimes we call catastrophizing awfulizing.